Welcome. This is the art of being a gracious diva. This is our illustrious diva panel. Thank you so much, guys, for showing up today. I'm going left to right on my screen. So, STASHA Washburn are the period coach. If you want full bios, each of us have our have our information on the website and on individual interviews. So y'all can go back to that, but I want to leave the meat of this for the conversation. And then we have Dr. Shannon Wong Lerner, who is a communication coach and also called the Breath Diva. And then we have a Dr. Barbara KLEEB, who is an amazing leadership and business coach. And she also is in obstetrics and gynecology. And then she is in Switzerland and also a vocal artist. So she has 2 CDs that are amazing that are out. So, yay. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for coming. We're gonna dive right in. We have our first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna review the current accepted definition of diva, and then we can comment because that's why we're here. We were gonna comment on it. Okay, so here we go. This is the current definition. We've got the initial, which is a famous female opera singer, which we get. Then we have a famous female singer of popular music. And then we get to the fun stuff, which is the self-important person who is temperamental and difficult to please, typically used of women. And then, and I just am always interested in how they make these sentences happen. She is more the dedicated maverick than the petulant diva.
Which is
Yes.
interesting because that's like goes into like calling divas children too by using that word
Exactly.
petulant. It's
Like,
very
right.
insulting.
It's just like, oh, really? Because diva's supposed to be like kind of a magnificent thing, but she's petulant. It's interesting adjective. So yeah, so that's where I wanted to start the conversation because I'm like, okay, I think this is one of the reasons why we're here, right? That this is the way that our amazing leadership and strong women voices can be perceived, and that this is considered a standard definition. Does anybody else have something they want to speak to on that? And you can always just raise your
It's
hand.
it's that taking anything of skill that's female oriented and finding a way to make it derogatory in some way. It's, we talked about the you're not a leader, you're a bitch. You're not a talented salesperson, you're
Pushy,
aggressive, right?
aggressive, yeah.
So, but it's that same thing where all of the words that had feminine, or not feminine, but at least female connotation to it were just somehow twisted throughout time. And I don't know if you've watched The History of Swear Words on Netflix, but they go through a couple of words that essentially were fine, female-centered, used even positively to start with, but watched the morphing of it over time and space, and then twisting it into this new thing. And it's just like that. This diva went from being a powerful, commanding, charismatic presence of the room, an absolute compliment, to petulant.
Yeah.
Boom, like way to just take all of the power out of it.
Right, right. And like, yeah, for posterity, it's in a dictionary, right? Um, yeah.
Yeah, I
Barbara?
think.
Or
Oh,
that swear word that I called lovely pink butterfly in a song. I was kind of wanting to take the feminine power back, which is the worst swear word in English. And I find it so unjust that I wrote a song about it. It's a wonderful, wonderful cha-cha-cha. and the Cuban musicians were kind of having a laugh about it, and they were really enjoying it. So yeah.
Love it. Shannon?
Yeah, I know it had that opera and pop diva reference, so I'm going to make it a little literal right now. But I also feel like this is it's like a respect of woman and feminist issue too, the way they've set up those words. But thinking about like the beginning of diva, you know, in the US when Maria Malibran came here. So she was the first part of the first opera troupe to come to the United States. And they were like very, very unpopular. But they did recognize her as this diva. And it wasn't just her voice, but it was, you know, it was like her look, and it was like how she handled herself. And, you know, they recognized that she had this power of voice and presence. Again, it wasn't popular, so she wasn't really considered a celebrity, but they didn't use the diva in a pejorative way. And then I think, you know, from 1831 on, and then we talked about Jenny Lind coming in, and then that I think was a turning point when the diva started to get real power.
Yeah.
Like societal, monetary, social, cultural capital and power. That's when the diva started to turn. So, you know, thinking about the feminine and this feminine power, which is what all of us, our work is about, and thinking about how we can reframe that, you know, even that the definition MONIFA shares, she's not I can't remember the adverb, but it was maverick, or the adjective. Maverick, you think of like Jack or Jill of all trades, right?
Right.
And then I feel like the diva is that. The diva is resourceful, but it's a very misogynist take, and then just making it about putting her in line with a child. So that's like really, to me, very gross, because it's saying it goes almost back to eugenics and a pseudoscience. Like she's an underdeveloped person, when they believed that female brains were smaller alongside people of color. And so, yeah. Someone needs to call Webster, whoever wrote that, and like let them know this is really offensive.
I didn't even
All right.
know if I fully
Twitter
read it.
campaign. Merriam-Webster.
Yeah.
Yes, it brings us to our next question. Let me know when it pops up, guys. I think
see
the
it
last one took a while. Okay, so this is where we get to rewrite it, right? So what do you wish people knew about the word diva? If you could rewrite that definition and make it right, you know, what would you say in this modern age, right?
Independent would be probably the first word I put up there, you know, and after that, whatever. But to me, the diva is somebody who can stand on their own, has the power, may have an entire team, but at the end of the day is an independent force.
Yes. I'm going to take us back to the word you use as charismatic as well, with that, the presence where somebody is fully standing in their own power and in their own energy, and that presence that garners.
I think it's a representative woman in some sort that is able to put the divine or source energy and give it to an audience, and this is why she's called diva.
Yeah, I would say I agree with all of those, and I would say that it's also this sense of inner and outer wisdom that comes from knowing who you are, and to me that is emblematic of the feminine. And you know, feminine people, women, people who are cisgendered women, people who are you know, can be trans or non-binary, can take that diva trope too. But it's definitely, I feel like when you see the diva, just like each of you have explained different ways, and you see them appear on stage, you get this sense like, I need to listen to this person, you know, like there's a presence here, and I want to hear what this person has to say. And I feel like that and yeah, I guess that also goes into yours, the charisma, MONIFA. Not everyone has that.
Yes, yes. And then I also think it's what makes them memorable. Like, so I feel like each diva kind of has their own characteristics or personality, their true personality that they don't apologize for and that is evident. Like you when you see them, you think of, right? I think there's, different kinds of divas. I think some are like really strong and powerful and just light up the stage. There's some that are just really gentle and etheric and transform a room. And I think there's different ways and different personalities that show up as the diva as well, which I think is wonderful because we all can create our own version and stand in that.
It's well, what Shannon was saying really struck me as that maturity, that wisdom that comes with just life lived and that experience. And the way she was describing it and what you were just saying, really, it paints that picture of somebody who's not fresh-eyed right out of the gate, brand new or anything. It's really does have that maturity, that gravitas behind it that you can only get through lived experience, not necessarily age related, but experience related for sure.
There was actually an article that came out. It was quite a while ago. Maybe it was like 6 or 8 years. And it says where it was called, Where Have All the Divas Gone? And it was talking about this rise of divas like Miley Cyrus. And I can't think of her name, the girl with the dark hair who did like the tiger video. I can't think of her name right now. There's all these like very young, very, very skinny pop singers. And then MONIFA and I had a conversation about it, and she had mentioned exactly what you said, Stasha, like they're just not grown enough. Not to say that like, because when Maria Malibran came on the scene, I think she was like 17 and she was like a diva, but it was because of that training and the maturity and, and also her father like put her through a lot to train. But yeah, there's something interesting to think about that it is something that, that comes with time, even if it's like an old soul situation.
Yes, I have seen a few old soul young divas that really garner that attention just because of the weight of that kind of carried experience. Yes, for
I do believe
sure.
it's something you have to grow into, though. That's why I say like baby divas. It's like someone who's coming up, but they're not quite there yet, right?
Well,
They have
that
some
is a
catching up to do.
process.
Yeah,
Isn't
it's a
that
process.
interesting? Like there's almost I was calling it earlier. I don't think we were on camera, but I was calling it like an audition process. Almost like you're kind of tested and then you have the potential, right? And then you're kind of tested through trial and more experiences and various having more on your CV, so to speak. And then eventually they're like, okay, you are now crown diva, right? Like it's kind of this unseen, unspoken, and universal moment. Yes. So we have, let's see, what is our next question? Let's see what we got. I'm always playing with these machine buttons because I feel like they're moving around on me. What's going on? Oh, I know. Let's do it this way. All right. So this should do it. Oh, no, it didn't do it. All right. Here we go. So, what
It's
about
the
you?
YouTube studio in my stream.
Is it still the YouTube? I flipped it over.
I think you're going to have to stop and restart
I have to
sharing.
stop and restart.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. There.
There we go.
Hey, we did it. All right.
Teamwork. It's all teamwork.
Yes. So this is one I'm very interested in because I think we've all had to be in the spotlight or that show up moment enough, and I don't know a better word for it than perform other than making it a whole paragraph. So what do you know your body needs when you are about to be on or to perform? Because I think some people just haven't
I
even thought about it yet. And
may I
so,
answer? I don't want. I know.
yeah.
I actually just performed right before I got on here.
Yeah.
So I don't sing that often anymore. I use voice a lot in my work because I work with speech. But so I use that background, but I just don't do vocal performances. And I did a vocal performance for an event called Stand with Asians. And so it's in response to the Asian attacks and the anti-Asian sentiment right now in the US. And I feel like I need to feel like a full person when I come to perform. And so, you know, getting plenty of sleep. I mean, this is like really basic stuff, getting plenty of sleep. So I'm not like looking all haggard and feeling empty inside. And then eating, which I didn't do before because I didn't have time. I was rushing, but eating, like drinking caffeine, all the stuff you normally do just to not throw yourself off. And then something interesting that I think about, because I practice, but I didn't over practice. That's something I used to do. I know MONIFA knows this because MONIFA was my voice coach for an operetta we did. And I think there were times I was over practicing for sure. And so, you know, something I did, Thelonious Monk used to say that there with performances and like jazz and improv and like taking a melody and then doing something with it, that it was either you want to keep it alive. And in order to do that, it should be somewhat a surprise, like to you and the people around you. If you do it too much, it will become dead. That's what he said. And so I thought of that. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it just enough. And I did. And then I felt like it actually came out. And then I also have this mic now, which I just got, but I feel like it actually came out really well. And it's probably the first time I've tempered myself to do a performance. Before, I think I used to use stress and adrenaline to like push me. And then sometimes I do really well. And then sometimes it'd be horrible. So it's the first time I ever did a vocal performance where I was really taking care of myself. And I think I felt like I could tell the difference, and maybe people around me could too, showing up as a whole person.
Beautiful. I love it. Yes. Yes, because when you take care of yourself on that level, then it can be a more stable place you come from. The message is now clearer, including your voice. Yes. Who's next? I would know. Somebody else.
I'm happy to jump in. So at this point, my performances are like webinars and, you know, teaching people about periods. And I have a card, and it's my little reminder list that, you know, get present, get excited, water, lipstick, gotta have the red lippy. But one of the things that's on here is, you love this shit.
Gotta remind
and
myself.
Because I find that I'm in the moment and I get, you know, meticulous, like, okay, I gotta make sure the notifications are turned off. And now I have a boyfriend who travels with me, so now I'm like, I gotta make sure his notifications are turned off, because that got me like 3 or 4 times. And I was like, for the love of fucking God, turn the phone off. So it's like, it's like all these little things that you're doing. And even when I was dancing, you know, it's like you're checking the costumes and you're making sure everything is stitched strongly so you don't break on stage, you know. So it's like you're going over these little bits and pieces of things, when in reality, what I really needed to be doing was just sitting down and visualizing the audience, the crowd, the students, whomever it is that I'm speaking to, and really just get present to their journey. And especially with the work I do now, I'm guiding people generally through shock, anger, betrayal, and then education and hope. And it's like, I'm about to take people on this journey, and it's true of any story, any opera, any play, any ballet. It's a story. You're taking people on a journey, and you want to be a really good steward for that. And so as I prepare now, I think more about the journey that they're about to go on, and I get really excited for them. And once, you know, like, oh boy, I can't wait to see what happens when we hit this spot or whatever it is. And the more I tap into that, the more I calm down, the more I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fantastic. The more excited I get, and the more it's excited and fun energy and less anxious, oh, here we go energy. So it's, you know, the process, the bits and pieces are the exact same. You still have to check to make your point shoes are sewn tightly so they don't fall off mid-show. But you can do it with excitement or you can do it with anxiety. And that shift was an enormous help along the lines.
For sure. Because yes, because it is about the details, but it's also about the presencing and presencing to that journey, presencing to the people that you're there for, and the outcome that you desire for them. And that really does, it transforms, like you said, that energy into something that is just can be really powerful and fun instead of and loving, that you can love instead of crap, I gotta do this thing, you know? Yes. What about you, Barbara? What are your favorite things? For me, it's tea. I kind of always need tea. Tea is close by. Even if I don't drink it, it's in the room.
I need a lot of things. I need a caring team. I need the space around me in front to kind of let me focus. Then I need the self-awareness on my body. Then I need a good breath. I need a preparation of my voice kind of for the singing. And I need the focus on the story that I want to present. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, the space is super important for me too. Like I just need physical space. If I can't I don't feel like I can throw my leg out and do one of these, then I feel like, oh, I get anxious, right? So I think physical space is a thing, and then I think setting the space is a thing. So sometimes I really love to put on some incense or turn on my vaporizer or something that just helps me feel like I'm in this moment. Shannon.
Oh, I just want to say something really quick about as a follow-up to what Stasha said, which I really, really liked. I feel like you might compare, getting excited for a speaking event to inviting people to your house. And so, have you ever been in a place where you just didn't feel welcome? Hopefully not a dinner party at someone's house where they're just they really don't want me here. Why am I here? And the food's really small. That's happened to me. It's not that they didn't want me here, but the food was just really small. I was I'm hungry. But, it's I need 10 of these, you guys. I mean, they were just, I don't know why. But my point is that when you invite someone to your house, you welcome them. You make sure they're comfortable. You make sure the space is good for them. And same goes for any speaking event or performance. With Barbara's performances, she sounds you do a lot of musical, vocal performance. It's you also want, the stage is your house. It's this is that's part of the diva too, is owning the space, but also creating a welcoming presence in the space. You don't want to have them feel like they're coming to your house and everything's uncomfortable and stressful and you're yelling at them.
No, don't sit there.
Yeah.
You don't want that kind of invitation. Nobody wants that kind of invitation. Yeah, so very cool. I love those answers. So this is our next one. I think this one, I feel like we can never speak too much on this topic because there's a big part of the art is creating the boundary, making it clear, communicating with clarity on the boundaries, and inviting people, and still having that invitation of people getting to be part of that space or the journey or the even if they're as your support, just they're in it with you. They get the success with you, right? That kind of feeling. So who wants to start on this one? What is your number one tip on creating boundaries?
That you have the right to do it, and that no is the first word that any kid says. And when kids say something, they say it with the body. So, but about 50% or even more have lost that, and to give it back to them is to help them to get to this awareness and to help them to integrate the body in saying the no and just making it natural and authentic.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think about like kind of bridging off what we were already talking about, like setting the stage for people. So typically, like when I tell a story or I want there to be a certain mood in the room, I'll set that up. And so then they know what to expect. And then my performance or my talk or my presentation will follow suit, because that almost like taking the sage and like, you know, doing the smudge, but you're doing it with your words and your intention. And then people will subtly know like what to expect, and then they'll be able to be present too. And to me, that's a boundary. It's like, you know, you can't say like, if you're an angry person, get out of here. You know, you can't exactly say that, but you can say like what you want the space to be about. Maybe if there's something happening, what you're responding to, how you're responding in this way, you know, and just kind of set it up for people.
Yes.
I really like that. You know, I find that I have different needs at different times. So for me, it really truly is about tapping in and going, okay, what is it that I need? Because honestly, depending on where I am in my cycle, it's different things. So Ludel, or deep Ludel, where I am living right now, I absolutely was like, I just need to lay in here in silence. Like, if you're coming into this bedroom, you're doing it silently, like a ninja. So I just needed like the quiet space. Whereas, you know, in follicular, it could be something really different. Like the boundaries that I need right now are I need to get out into the sunshine. I need to go, you know, have some of this rejuvenation space. So it really comes down to the first step for me is going, okay, what do I need? And in that question, what are the things that are going to make me crazy if they come up? Like, so right now I know that what's going to make me crazy is a bunch of noise and commotion and nonsense. So I know that's the boundary that I need to set. Like, I don't want to deal with it right now. Just take it away. You can talk to me in 2 hours from now, but just not right now. So it's just, and you know, this is where that we come back to that like lived experience thing, where I've been performing since I was like 3. So I can tap into that experience and go, what do I need to feel my best to deliver an amazing journey to these people who are in the audience, and anticipate, because everyone's pissed me off at some point or another. And now I know all of, at least so far, no one's surprised me in a long time, but at least I know all of the things that typically will come up, and I can anticipate that. So it's like, I can take a look around me, who's in the area, you know, what do I need to turn off? Do I need to turn off all of the notifications? Do I need to turn off the phone? Do I need, you know, what I can really make that assessment of what's the most likely thing to bother me right now and eliminate it before it happens. And that takes experience for sure, but it also really takes, you know, self and outer observation skills. So I think my number, like that advice comes down to know yourself, but be observant too. Like, you have to be able to say, oh, that just annoyed the shit out of me. And then instead of getting judgmental or taking yourself down or taking somebody else down, going, okay, so that's interesting. Let me file that in my mind. That's something that bothers me. That's something that I don't want to have to deal with before a show ever again. So let me just mental note that. So next time I can set it up to make that just not happen.
Yeah.
So observe.
Yes. Observance, knowing yourself, knowing what you need in your body, right? And yeah, I think that knowing how you are functioning in those experiences. So part of that means having those experiences, like doing enough of them so that you know what can and will go wrong. there's nothing you can do about a live experience. Like if it's a live experience, if it's a performance experience, which essentially means that you don't get another chance at it, right? Or once it's done, it's done. Like if you have a recording, it's a recording, and it's a recording for a while, and somebody has it at that point, right? Like, you know, it's done, right? Then if you're getting into one of those experiences, how does your body react? How does your brain react, right? How does your breath react? Because that's a good starting place. Because it'll indicate before everything else, you know, when something is not quite right. And then take note of it, like Stasha's saying, and then, you know, do something to support it or negate it. When you have your next experience. Beautiful. This is the thing that to me rides right along beside having the things that you want at hand, right? So like for me, again, like that's that tea, or having my scarf with me in the room, right? Like I may not need the scarf, but if I don't have the scarf, then I'm feeling like, oh, well, I might need the scarf. Right? Because if I get even a little bit cold, I'm uncomfortable. And uncomfortable is something I don't want to feel before a performance. That's just the way it is. Right? So anybody else have like something like that they just have with them?
Self-love instead of self-loathing, I wanted to add, as a mindset and as a experience.
Yes. Beautiful. Thanks for adding that. Yes.
I mean, I'm a tea and a scarf girl as well.
Are you?
I traveled to Bali and brought a bag full of different kinds of teas and a couple different scarves with me. And everyone's like, you know, it's like 100 degrees and humid there. And I was like, I'll use them. Don't worry about it. Just mind your business. And I did.
Exactly. Yes.
So I know I'm very much like you, but you know, I also travel, well, I'm also a nomad, so I travel all the time. And I have big, warm, fuzzy socks all of the time with me. And to the point that actually my boyfriend got me a pair of reading socks. They're like glitter and gold, and you're not really supposed to walk around in them. They're quite literally to be used with your feet up, and they're super fluffy inside. And I travel now with them everywhere, all of the time. It's a non-negotiable. Because I don't like being cold either. And if I'm going to be sitting here thinking about how freaking cold my feet are instead of being in the moment and present, then it services nobody. So yeah, totally with you on the being warm and cozy.
And travel's a whole nother level of preparation, right? Like there's certain things that I always have with me on travel, especially scarves, because scarves are useful for not just putting around your neck. You can also use them to cover things and cover yourself on an airplane when it gets obscenely cold. And there's just always a reason to have one, is all I'm saying. The other thing I always have is some kind of sanitizer, because I get triggered by different allergies. And so I literally will spray things when I go into hotels. I just do. Okay. There's, you know, and it might just be a mindset thing, but again, that's what I need for my own comfort level and my own support. So, you know, like you said, like, you know, mind your business. You know, like that's what I do. Right. Does anybody else have anything on this one?
I will say in alignment with that, because I travel so much, I have a spray bottle and I have a few essential oils that I travel with. And I've been doing that because I realized how easy it was to make a space feel like home, a dressing room, a friend's, you know, spare bedroom, an Airbnb, wherever. I could just spritz this thing and at least it smelled right to me. And that smell was like, okay, you're close enough to home right now to relax and chill out and enjoy your space. So that comment that you just made there really, you know, it's like, it was one of those, how do I make never being at home because I don't have one feel like home, where you can sit, actually kick back and relax. And smell is one of our oldest. It is the oldest sense. So it to me, it was like, oh, well, just traveling around with a little, and it's empty for planes or, you know, whatever. And then you just fill it up when you get someplace and pop it in, and it can make,
Yeah,
it's
and
just
essential
so
oils are
nice.
perfect for the pillow as well. Like it helps me
Mhm.
sleep. It's one of the things I had a big problem with when I started traveling, is that if I have a certain smell on the pillow, then I'm okay,
Mhm.
right? So it's interesting. It's interesting what works for us. Barbara, were you gonna say something?
I mean, when I have to present, I always put on makeup. I normally have none, and but it kind of lifts me up, and then I think I'm more able to present right now, or it's just this kind of moment, and I always do it right before I get on stage or in a job interview or something like this. That gives me this peace and this kind of, yeah, I can do it and I'm beautiful and stuff like this.
Yes, I'm going in. I'm going in. That's why I think that's why when some people call it like war paint, right? You're just like, and I've got my lipstick and I am ready. You know, it's different for everybody, but I think there's usually at least one thing we do for the face because it's how we present, right? Um, yay! Did you have one, Shannon? Are you ready for the next question? I think we're ready. All right. So this is something that I think most of us we have our people, right? So what do you most appreciate about women stepping into bold leadership? And I'll go ahead and say that for me, I just know the courage it takes. You know, such a courageous act. And a lot of times we don't even know why. Like, we don't know the history. We don't understand the evolutionary history that's in our bones and genes that makes us balk at this um, thing so much. But when you choose to take a stand and you choose to step into a spotlight in order to lead on something you're passionate about, it is just tremendously courageous. And I respect the hell out of that.
I want to say something. I was just thinking about how, you know, MONIFA's work and Barbara's work are a lot about voice and singing, and it's like something, and I a little bit now do it. But so there's always an assumption that one learns how to sing, but we already know how to speak. And I think that's part of like the pressure for women, and also women of color and not and gender nonconforming people when they go up to speak. There's an assumption like you should already know how to do this, because when you were a baby and you started uttering words equals you can give a speech right now, or you can show up as a leader for your community. And it's just not the truth. It's just like anything else, takes time, takes support, and takes tools and skills that build over time. And so I think when I hear women step up to be leaders, I see how that happens a lot of times in increments. And just when someone finally finds their voice, just like MONIFA coached me this for to actually find my real voice. I don't even know if I completely found it or not, but I know I was trying. But when I was studying opera with her, and there's a difference between like the voice you hear and the voice you feel and trust. And I believe that has a lot to do with the diva and leadership and everything we're talking about, like processes of our bodies, and, you know, STASHA talking about menstrual cycle. And, you know, it's really interesting to think about that. And so when I see a woman stepping up to speak as a leader and I hear that quivering voice because she's never done it before, and the words are coming out in this like truly visceral, you know, authentic way, I want to just like hold her in that space and really give her all the support she needs.
Yeah. Yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah, especially in my industry, there's so few people even really speaking up, let alone being in that leadership role, that I get really excited. In fact, I had somebody who contacted me because she wants to basically do what I'm doing. And, you know, my boyfriend was listening to it and he was like, so basically she just wants to steal your program. And I was like, yeah, and she can have it because there's billions of people in the world who need this information. And if she can deliver it in a way that somebody can hear that I can't, then fan-fucking-tastic. Sign her up, get her through, get her certified, and get her out there.
Yes.
So for me, it's like, I'm always so excited when I see somebody doing it. And I mean, I'm like the first one cheering them on before they've even gotten a word out. It's like, go for it, sister. I got your back. Like, just do it. Cause it's just, good Lord, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said it the best, you know, I'll be satisfied when there's 9 women justices, not half and half, 9. Yeah. And I think about that all the time. And I think about Shirley Chisholm, who said, you know, if they won't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Like, I just think of all of these women who are out there doing leadership things and having to pave a road out of nothingness. And now it's like, the more people who jump in and do it, the better. And every, you know, for me, I feel like what I'd love to, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you make your voice that unique, that very individual, that, just that unique you-ness to it? And that's, I think, where I really love seeing, like, when they truly hit that leadership space, because they're not parroting somebody else's words, or they're not, you know, imitating somebody else's branding or whatever it is, but they're truly out there with their own unique stamp and step and saying, like, you know, I felt like that myself. Like, when I finally went, you know what, I feel like the cycle needs 5 phases and I'm done trying to, you know, cram it in and apologize and make it fit. And I'm just going to create my own system, and all of the medical industry can suck it, because frankly, this feels like so much more helpful and practical. And I'm just going to start teaching it this way. And I mean, I had a lot of pushback from people for it. And I just, you know, no, like, this is just more practical. It's more useful this way. And if it's not practical and useful, then what are we doing? So I like seeing that. I really like seeing that individuality, that uniqueness, that really embracing your own truth in that way and taking it out there. And the more, the merrier.
Yes, I say that too. The more, the merrier, because if we could do it by ourselves, we would have by now, right? Like, we we need everybody, and everybody that is willing and has the foresight and the vision to step up and just be where they are. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect yet, right? We'll get to perfect later, right? But but you just starting and stepping into it. How about you, Barbara?
I admire women who are leaders, especially if they're really coming from their core and being authentic.
Yes, yes. Authentic is huge.
I myself had the illusion that I'm often kind of the alpha in the room, but it took me a long time to really realize that it was actually my boyfriend who was pointing it out, that I am the alpha. And then I was starting to observe how the people are reacting, and yes, it is like this when I'm in the hospital or so. And it gave me a lot of conflicts, because I didn't just realize, or because men didn't want to admit that I'm this leader, and then they're narcissistic and they're kind of trying to put me down and stuff. It was kind of painful, but now I'm really stepping into it and I'm enjoying it, and in what I'm doing now as a coach, and I'm also wanting to help leaders to become leaders.
Yes. That's another actually.
Yeah, you need help. You need support.
Yeah. And that the bringing up of the reactions of people before you even realize that you do have a stance of leadership in what you do well, uh, is very interesting because I've seen this in industry. Is when I used to put on a lot of concerts and that kind of thing, and I never understood why I would get so much pushback from people who already held a great deal of authority, right? But often they see it in you before you see it, or that's just the way you come off because it's in you. You just haven't realized it yet, like Dr. Barr was saying. And like, it's just one of those things where you really have to start to own it for you to be judicial or intentional, maybe is a better word, intentional about how you're presenting that stance of leadership. And it's very interesting. So if anybody is in that, say, like, nobody's going to see me as leader, every time I've tried, somebody gets freaked out, then you might have noticed that as a pattern. And that actually just means that you're a leader that hasn't chosen it or decided it or intended it yet, right?
That's such a good bit of wisdom right there. How many people have no idea that, they have a movement in them? I certainly didn't. It certainly took sitting down and getting really into it to go, oh, I'm not starting a business. I am part of a movement. And when I started, it didn't really exist. It's one of the reasons that I really like seeing new people come up, because it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
So, having that support, like Barbara was talking about, having, mentorship or coaches or just somebody who can go, oh yeah, yep, you got to get yourself up, dust off, and do it again on your team. It makes such a huge difference. And especially if you don't even yet realize what that path is that you're traveling down, and having some, getting that pushback and having the, hearing that voice in your head that says, maybe this pushback is happening because you actually have more power than you realize, and they're pushing back against it. What a more comforting thought than, as Barbara said, self-loathing, picking that self-confidence over that self-loathing. And yeah, I love that. What great wisdom.
Yes, yes. So, yes, and that's one of the things that you now know is that you have us on your side. At any stage of your leadership process, that we will cheer you on, even if your voice is quavering, and even if you haven't gotten it all together yet, and even if all your words aren't right yet. Just knowing that you're willing to take a stand puts us in your corner, right? So I would love that you can check out the offerings that everybody has brought, because it is an effort of helping you take that stand and step into bold leadership. We have gifts from everybody on the panel ready for you, waiting for you. All you got to do is register, and it's free. And then you will have that and access to all 5 recordings of The Art of Being a Gracious Diva. So I would love to just thank each of you for just showing up and saying all your beautiful wisdoms and tips, and just being here. So I appreciate it, y'all.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, MONIFA. Thank you, everyone. STASHA, Barbara, Dr. Barbara.
Thank you. All
Lovely
right.
being with you. Thank you.
Yes, yes. It's been wonderful, and do catch everything, because we just had so much great information on this panel, and in each interview we got into some really deep things that can really change our perspectives on this information. So dive in and enjoy it, and we'll see you guys around.
Ciao.
Ciao.